Hello and welcome to Ryno's Orioles Report. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Orioles did very good in taking the first two games in Toronto, but then too little too late to get the next two games, or even one out of the next two games. So the Orioles end up splitting the four-game series with the Toronto Blue Jays. Good results as we would have hoped for, but not a series loss anyway. So you can see I'm on MASNsports.com. Let's get to game one. Baltimore Orioles 7, Toronto Blue Jays 2. This from Rogers Center in Toronto. Bats woke up early in this game and this series, and then didn't do too much late. Kind of the theme of this whole series, really. Henderson 1 hit, Rutschman 1 hit, Mountcastle 0. Really? Mountcastle didn't get a hit in Toronto? Wow. Maybe the bats didn't wake up that early. O'Hearn 1 hit, also worked the walk, scored once. Santander 2 hits, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Westberg 1 hit, Cowser hit, an RBI, run scored. Hayes 2 hits, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Nice to see Austin Hayes wake his bat up. Connor Norby. Yes, that is right. That Connor Norby, that former AAA guy, also at second base. No, the other second baseman in AAA, with Jorge Mateo being put on the injured list, concussion protocol list, needed a second baseman. Or maybe just an infielder of some kind, but preferably right-handed. So in comes Norby. We've seen better debuts, but, somewhat late notice, I'm sure, because, when did Mateo get put on the injured list, and when did they ask Connor Norby to make the trip out to where the Orioles were? Oh, and not to mention that they're in technically another country and customs and all that stuff. Did not play the whole game, so Ramon Urias comes in late in the game. And it was obviously the right decision. 1 hit, 1 RBI, 1 run scored by Ramon Urias. Norby looks okay. I'm not going to say that he looks like he should stay here. And I'll get to, the rest of his offensive performances later in other games. He looks okay. Yeah, I don't know that he looks as flashy defensively as, oh my God, I forgot the kid's name, Jackson Holliday. Though it did kind of take Jackson Holliday a while to settle in. But at the same time, I don't know that Norby really has the speed to match Jackson Holliday's range. Henderson, Cowser with doubles. Hayes, 2. That's right, 2 home runs from Austin Hayes. Wow. He only has, I forgot how many he has on the season. 2, I think, on the season, right? Those 2 home runs. Both off of Kevin Gausman. Yeah, that's right. That same Kevin Gausman that was with the Orioles way back in the Showalter days when they were making those playoff runs. Kind of surprised Gausman's still around. Kind of disappointed that we couldn't keep him around. Seems to, and maybe part of it was just the way starting pitching goes. Not that many starting pitchers can last as long as Gausman has. So it's more of a, let's say, because baseball's into betting now, a gamble, right? There's a risk versus reward. You keep him, X% chance that he's just not going to be around that long. And price also goes up, so I don't really want to spend that kind of money during the rebuild. Santander, also a home run off of Gausman. Well, maybe it's a good thing we didn't keep him around. And Arias with a home run. Yeah, solo home run late. O'Hearn and Westberg stolen bases. Yes, that's right. I said O'Hearn stolen base. Throwing error Henderson. Yeah, sometimes Henderson giveth and sometimes he take awayeth. Grayson Rodriguez got the start in this one. 6 2/3 innings pitched. Couldn't get, the full 7 innings, but it is what it is sometimes. Only went 86 pitches, which I think is probably where you really want Rodriguez. You really don't want to kick him up to like 95, 100 pitches. Because then he gets inflamed elbow problems and can't pitch for a while. So 6 2/3 innings pitched, gives up 7 hits. Little high, but gives up 2 runs, only 1 earned run. Didn't walk anybody, which is great. That's why you accept the 7 hits, because he didn't walk nobody. Only 4 strikeouts, which is very low for what we're used to from Grayson Rodriguez, but a lot of early contact from Blue Jays hitters, so got a bunch of ground balls. Cano finishes off the 7th inning and then pitches the full 8th inning. No hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. There you go. Did that in 13 pitches. Again, Jays were kind of swinging early. Aiken pitches the 9th inning. Not a save situation. Does give up a hit, but no runs, no walks. Strikes out 1. Old buddy Kevin Gausman, he gave up 6 runs, but, still, at this age, after starting this long, still able to go 6 innings. Wonder what it could have been. What could he have been like if he'd stuck around here in an Orioles uniform this whole time? Again, it would have been expensive, but kind of curious to know what it would have been like. Though we don't have time machines. Game 2, Baltimore Orioles 10, Toronto Blue Jays 1. Wow. Jesus, save some offense for the next 2 games, boys. Spoiler alert, they did not. Henderson, 1 hit. Wow, we got 10 runs and Henderson only got 1 hit. Well, he also walked twice and then scored 3 times. He does well at being a table setter, though it's tough to say, man. It just seems like his talents are better used in like the 3-hole. But he's getting on base. Rutschman, 2 hits, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, also worked the walk. Mountcastle, 2 hits, 5 RBIs, scored twice. There we go. Santander, 1 hit and an RBI. Stowers, defensive replacement late, also gets an at-bat. Couldn't make any use of it, but with the high run differential in this game, Stowers got. I think I would have liked him to get at least 2 at-bats. You would have thought, especially on the turf, with Santander being mostly your regular right fielder this season. Could have got him off his feet. It's just the turf up there and the way it's designed, it's not as forgiving on the lower body as, let's say, real grass. Westberg, no hits. Hayes, only 1 hit this time. Sad. He had 2 home runs the last game. He couldn't get any home runs this game. No, it doesn't happen that much. Cowser, no hits. Ugh. Did walk once, scored twice. But as you can see, he only got 2 at-bats, and where Norby, again in the lineup, actually had 4 at-bats. So there's that. Norby, 1 hit, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. Yep. There you go. Something that Brad Brock was talking about on the broadcast. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Your first hit and your first RBI. Well, technically it's like 3 birds with 1 stone, because you get your first hit, your first home run, and your first RBIs. James McCann starting at catcher in this one. Rutschman DH. You know how I love that. Ken does get a hit. Santander, Hayes, Henderson, doubles. Mountcastle with 2 and Norby with 1 home runs. There you go. Well, he's already got more home runs than Jackson Holliday. Maybe he will stick around for longer. We'll have to see. Because if Jorge Mateo comes off the 7-day concussion list, move will have to be made. If you want to keep Norby, you got to get rid of somebody else. Corbin Burns starting this game. Wow. I tell you, I mean, it seems like every time I see this man start, I'm like, definitely worth the cost. We did like the way Joey Ortiz looked, and we did, for the most part, like the way DL Hall pitched, but this guy's pitching so much better. 7 innings pitched. Did need 99 pitches to do that. A little high, but he's been a horse, and he's your ace, so he should get a longer leash than that. Also, he doesn't throw nearly as hard as, let's say, Grayson Rodriguez, so a little less wear on his arm when Burns throws 90 pitches compared to when Grayson does. 4 hits in those 7 innings, only 1 run, only 1 walk, strikes out 5. You'd love seeing that from your ace pitcher. And it's like, that's why he's worth the cost anyway. Jacob Webb gets the 8th inning. No hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. Nick Vespi. Wow. He was called up to the Orioles and he actually got into a game? Holy shit. I feel like that almost never happens. At least half the time Vespi gets called up, he doesn't get into the game. Or in any games. Pitches a full 9th inning, does give up a hit, but no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. But hey, at least, he got in there. Take some pressure off some of the other arms in the bullpen. Which, anybody could have done that 10-1 lead, right? Let's get to game 3. Baltimore Orioles 2, Toronto Blue Jays 3. Why I was wanting them to save some offense for the next games. As you can see, each team got 2 runs in the second. You don't like to see that. You don't like to see your offense put 2 runs up on the board, and then the very next inning, you give the 2 runs right back. You don't like that. And then the final 1 run, the winning run in the 9th inning. Yeah, Toronto walked it off. Gunnar Henderson, over. Walked once. Rutschman 1 hit, Mountcastle no hit. 2 games, and you shut Mountcastle down? What's going on? Am I in Bizarro World or something? That's not supposed to happen. Definitely not in Canada. Mountcastle loves hitting in Canada. Well, apparently he didn't like hitting there this trip. O'Hearn actually started in right field. 2 hits. I like the 2 hits, but no runs scored, no RBIs. Just couldn't put it together. Hayes does come in as defensive replacement late. Santander, 1 hit, 1 RBI, 1 run scored, also walked once. Westberg, over. Stowers, 1 hit. 1 hit and 4 at-bats isn't great, but it is. I do like seeing Stowers play the whole game and actually hit the baseball, Mullins dropped all the way down to the 8th hole. I don't see that too much. Over, but worked once. Yeah, he worked once. Worked the walk, 1 walk, and scored on that walk. So made him pay for that walk. Urias a hit and RBI, also walked once. Urias double. Santander home run. Urias is a very good starting pitcher, so it's going to be low scoring, at least as far as the Orioles were concerned. Mullins did steal a base. Stowers tried to emulate Cedric Mullins, but he's definitely not as fast. Throwing error, Craig Kimbrell. Yeah. probably imagine what happened. Very disappointing, actually. Suarez got the start in this one. Yeah, getting to the end of your rotation, things like this happen. Gives up 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned, walks 1, strikes out 4. Not a terrible performance from what your 5th/6th or 7th starter, depending on how you have the rotation depth chart out. Not the worst performance. Like, you definitely expect the offense to do something more than 2 runs. Webb pitches a 6th, does give up 2 hits, but no runs, no walks, strikes out 1. Coulomb in the 7th, no hits, no runs, no walks, strikes out 1. Cano in on for the 8th. Yeah, you know what I mean. No hits, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. The bullpen doing it for you, boys. Like, you gotta get some runs. Yeah, you see Kimbrel in here. Yeah, he does technically get the loss, but come on, man. You got to get more than 2 runs. You're on the road. That's why your closer's in there an entire game. And no, he doesn't hold runners well. Go find me a closer that actually holds runners well. Go find one. I dare you. Does allow a hit, and that's really what happened. Allowed 1 hit, and then Toronto just puts a speed guy out there. Like, barely a guy they use. So Kimbrel trying to pick the guy off. Threw over once. It was somewhat close. You could tell they were going. I mean, he was going to go at some point. So Kimbrel tries, he tries the second time, does a little quicker, not necessarily quicker motion, but tries to catch him off guard and just kind of yanks the ball. Mountcastle, it was kind of far away from Mountcastle, but it wasn't like thrown into foul territory. Like, if you're looking from the mound at first base, it wasn't to the right into foul territory. It was to the left, but between, trying to hold the bag and the runner is right there, Mountcastle was probably like this close away from actually picking the ball. And you know what? If Mountcastle picks that ball cleanly and tags the guy, he's out. So it's not like the idea was wrong. The idea was right. You had him picked off. You needed the ball to be like, say, 3 inches to the right. I don't expect that many closers have good pickoff moves, especially a right-handed one. So then, of course, he's there at second. And then, of course, a double over Stowers' head. Yeah, that's right, a double over Stowers' head. Playing the outfield in. Okay. Of course, it's easy to second guess that decision because the ball got over your outfielder's head, which allowed a guy to score from second base. So, in hindsight, again, there's that word hindsight, it looks like a bad decision. Is it a bad decision? Because if the ball is in front of the outfielder playing shallow, definitely has a better chance to catch the ball, also is closer to the ball, so can make the play at the plate closer. But then if the ball's over the head, closer to, let's say, where the outfielder would probably be standing normally, might have actually been an out. Of course, then he moves up to third base, so damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. Didn't look like Kimbrel was having that much trouble locating. It just looks like a little bit of bad luck, really. I mean, you didn't have momentum in this game, so as soon as the Blue Jays get a runner on in the 9th inning, all the momentum shifts towards them, and it's the rest is really history from there. Especially if you just put a super fast guy, base running specialist out there. Disappointing that that's kind of allowed, but all right. Game 4. Baltimore Orioles 5, Toronto Blue Jays 6. So it's really a lot closer than it really should have been, because you can see here 2 runs by the Orioles in the 8th and then in the 9th as well. So in all actuality, it really should have been more like 6-1 or 6-2. Because you're up by 4 or 5 runs. Of course, the Blue Jays do not have their top setup man or closers in the game. So you're hitting it off of lesser pitchers. Westberg actually hitting leadoff in this game. Okay. No hits, though he did walk once and score once. Rutschman, 2 hits, 3 RBIs, scored twice. Mountcastle 1 hit. Well, so there you go. But not as many hits as we're used to seeing Ryan Mountcastle get in Toronto. Henderson 1 hit, also walked once. Hitting cleanup this time. God, what? I understand Ryan Mountcastle's track record against the Toronto Blue Jays, but I think Henderson's your 3-hole hitter. I don't know that he's really a 4-hole hitter. You want him batting more times than, let's say, a cleanup hitter. And you would definitely like to see it in the first inning. But that's just me. Santander, 0-for. Ugh. Hayes, also an 0-for. Struck out 3 times. Was able to score once, though. Connor Norby in there again. 3 games this series. It's very good to see. You almost might have thought Arias' playing time would have been a little bit more increased because of the absence of Mateo. Norby gets another hit. Wow. Already got like more hits than Jackson Holiday almost, or about the same, and it's only been 3 games for Norby. Very interesting. O'Hearn pinch hit late. Obviously, Connor Norby bats right, O'Hearn bats left, and O'Hearn is definitely more of a slugger. And, I mean, of course, it worked out for Brandon Hyde this time. I know I give him a bunch of shit for, all these pinch hits and whatnots, but I think for the most part it does work out. I do think he goes to the well once too often, but the more often you go to the well, the more water you're going to get, right? O'Hearn, 1 hit, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. Yeah. McCann, 0-for. Okay. Surprising to see McCann play twice in a row. Really is. Sowers pinch hit late. Love that, don't you? Love pinch hitting for the catcher when your other catcher is DHing. Love that. Nothing. Well, that's what happens when you don't give Kyle Stowers enough at bats. He's not going to have good pinch hitting performances because he's already only getting 4 at bats a week. Maybe 7 or something. If you want Stowers to be more successful at pinch hitting, he needs more consistent at bats. He barely knows what at bats are compared to some of these other guys. Colton Cowser, all the way at the bottom of the lineup. He's getting a Cedric Mullins treatment, which is odd. Though he did go 0 for 3, so you understand why. Yusei Kikuchi on the mound for the Blue Jays. Another good starting pitcher, having to be left-handed, that's why. More of a right-handed heavy lineup. Henderson a double out of that cleanup spot. Disappointing that there was nobody on. Which is why I mentioned that for Henderson to drop down the lineup, you want somebody else to have the kind of production in the cleanup spot that Henderson gets. Though it is hard to actually get that. Rutschman with two home runs. And O'Hearn with one home run. Again, tried to come back late. Sometimes this offense really has trouble getting their bats to wake up. Maybe they should start sacrificing live chickens and giving Joe Boo some more rum. C. Povich, that's right, Mr. Cade Povich. Actually, he's probably too young to be called Mr., but gets the start in this game because of the long stretch without a day off. Orioles have been wanting to go to a six-man rotation. Sadly, with injuries to John Means, Tyler Wells, and Dean Kramer, had to be put on hold, but they wanted another arm in the rotation, especially for this game. We'll see moving forward. And of course, who got sent down to make room for Cade Povich? We all know the answer. It was Vespi, because he's like the guy. Povich, not the greatest major league debut for a starting pitcher, though he did throw 100 pitches and go 5 innings. He also allowed 5 hits and 6 earned runs in those 5 1/3 innings, technically, and walked 4. Did strike out 2, but you throw 5 innings, you give up 5 hits, 6 runs, and 4 walks. Well, maybe if you hadn't walked 4, you wouldn't have given up 6 runs. What kind of pitcher? How would I describe Cade Povich? I think his arm action is somewhat similar to Andrew Miller. Maybe Povich is a little bit more over the top, but it's got that kind of sidearm delivery. And as far as speeds and pitch type, I would say really close to Jamie Moyer. Jamie Moyer had a lot of success. It's been a long time since Jamie Moyer has pitched in this league, but also pitched for the Orioles. Left-handed. Very low on the fastball velocity. Low compared to, let's say, other starting pitchers. Povich was about, between 91 and 93 on his four-seam fastball. But it has a lot of off-speed pitches. Curveball, sweeper, changeup. That's Cade Povich. The pitches look okay. You can tell he has bought into this tunneling philosophy. He does like to throw his fastball up in the zone. So therefore, when you throw the curveball in the same spot, it will drop a lot. So you get that same kind of arm action and ball release point and trajectory, at least early. And then it falls off the table. If it's a curveball and fastball, it stays up. But for one reason or another, it didn't seem like that curveball was getting enough drop to drop back into the zone or even below the zone. So I don't know if it's nerves, which I'm sure has a lot to do with it. But it just didn't seem like the curveball or the sweeper were really working that well. We'll see how much more time he gets, if he gets any. Remains to be seen. I think I would kind of like to see at least one more outing out of Cade Povich, just to give him a fair shot, Though at the same time, if you're trying to win the division and get far in the playoffs, how many of these prospects can you afford to give a chance to? Dylan Tate on in relief of Cade Povich. He finishes out the 6th inning, does allow another hit, but no runs, no walks, strikes out 1. And you're on the road in a loss. Keegan Aiken pitches the rest of the game. Only 2 innings for a total of 8 innings pitched by Oriole pitching. So get a little bit of a break, not having to pitch the full 9 innings. Aiken in those 2 innings, only 1 hit, no runs, does walk 1, strikes out 1. I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that any day of the week. You're going to give me 2 innings out of the bullpen, 1 hit, a walk, and a strikeout? I'll take it. Sounds good to me. Really, I really like the turnaround in Aiken's performance. I think some of it has attributed to Aiken being more of a one inning guy, pushing a little bit to 2 innings, not being that 3-4 inning long man type of dude out of the bullpen. I think he can put a little more effort into the pitches and therefore get better results. Your fastball velocity is higher, more rotations on sliders and such like that. Get a little bit better performance. It take 29 pitches. A little high. You would like to see that a little lower, but because he's probably not available tonight. No, that's okay. We got other guys. You only use 2 pitchers out of the bullpen. So, there it is. 2 games. 2-2. All right, let's get to this article here written by Rock Kubatko. This was a few days ago. This was the 3rd, so that was Monday. News came out of the roster moves. Norby called up because Mateo onto the 6-day IL. Thiago Vieira sent down or designated for assignment. Make room for Nick Vespi. And also in this article, you can see the headline, John Means surgery. Remember I said it would take, the surgeons had to get in there and see the arm, so we didn't know ahead of time. John Means had full-on Tommy John surgery again. This is it is. It's sad news because 2024 here, this is the last year that John Means is under contract with the Baltimore Orioles. And he probably won't be able to pitch in 2025, at least for let's say the first half, maybe the first quarter. So, would the Orioles consider bringing John Means back? I certainly hope so. Just feels terrible that John Means was around so much during the rebuild. He was one of the only bright spots for so long. They finally get good, and his arm just gives out on him. 2 Tommy John surgeries. Disappointing. It's very disappointing. But that is, that's how it goes sometimes. Another article written by Rock Kubatko. Yep, Vespi option again. It's like a running joke. Hey, but at least he got to pitch this trip up here. Oh, I meant to read this. Damn. Steve Mileski talks about Cade Povich's outing. Yeah, I got sidetracked. I wanted to read it. He basically says the same thing I said. It's just. But one of the interesting things to look for going forward is, will Povich stay up here for a while? Now, Nick Vespi can't just come right back. There is a time frame when, because you can't do that. You can't just bring one guy up one day and then bring another guy up the next day and just keep swap-swapping. You can't do that. So maybe we'll get to see Cade Povich for a bit, though. Who knows, really? I think they really do want to go to six-man rotation, so we'll see. Hopefully I would like to see Povich pitch at least one more. Hopefully we get that. All right, video's getting kind of long, so let's get to the schedule here. All right, 1 4-game series in Toronto done. Now another 4-game series Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The rare wraparound Monday series. Friday's game scheduled for 6:50. That's Jesus. Not 6:35, not 7:05. 6:50. Okay. Saturday is scheduled for 10. Sunday is scheduled for 1:40. And Monday scheduled for, again, 6:50. Weird. Okay. That is going to do... Oh. Die, bug. Die. I think I hit him. Where the hell was I? It's going to do it for this edition of Ryno's Orioles Report. Please stay tuned, or please tune in again for the next edition, which will happen Tuesday. And I will talk about the 4-game series between the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. And also hopefully get the video out there before the series starts with the Atlanta Braves. Harder than it might seem sometimes. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am the Angry Ryno, and this is Birdland.